Welcome to DT Madness, Chronicles from the Third Life, Episode 80, January 21st, 2024. So glad you could make it. Well, once again, Happy New Year. This is the second episode of 2024. 80th episode. Still rolling along. We'll try to get back on a regular schedule. We just finished up our 11th annual trip to Hilton Head with our good people. And I've already started looking at the Seashore Vacations website to see when it's available to reserve our spot down in Shorewood for next year for HH12. So it's an amazing weekend. It really is Christmas for Sarah and me, and it's the thing that we do look forward to like that, because the people that we go with, as soon as we get into their presence, it's like a filling up, and it's good to have people like that in your lives, and we got different things going on, different stages of life, of kids' life, and things get busy, but for that weekend anyway, it's good to grill and chill and eat a lot of shrimp, and yeah, anyway, good to be back. But now we're moving into the regular schedule, and it'll be fairly regular. Holidays are over. We're in birthday season. Mine's coming up next, and then Sydney's up, and then Sarah, and then Isaac in March. And so all of our family, all five of us, are from January to March. So it is birthday season, but in terms of huge trips or holiday breaks or those types of things, we're rolling along now until I guess Easter, when we head to Charleston for the tennis tournament. So I have been looking at a recliner, because there's just a single seat recliner at our place in Hilton Head. It's old, and it's got that old material. I don't know what it is. It's not burlap, you know what I'm saying? But what is that? It's not burlap. It isn't that rough, but it's still that, whatever that is, from old school chairs. Um, but I really thoroughly enjoyed sitting in that. And, the single seater like that would be good for our kind of small space that we have in our living area. So I've been looking for one, and I found a couple on the Amazon, and you know how it is with the reviews. Like, they're all good reviews except for just a couple, and the couple show you pictures of how theirs didn't hold the recline or whatever. And I don't know. I've searched other stores. I've searched some of the other local uh, furniture stores, but they don't have a whole lot of the single seaters anyway. And even then, they're basically double the price from Amazon. So we'll see. I'm kind of in this reorganizing phase anyway. Maybe it has to do with me turning 46. I don't know. Maybe it's just settling into the new cycle. This new second semester that, like I said, that we're pretty much rolling straight through until Easter, in terms of huge breaks. But yeah, been trying to clean up some stuff and sort out, some clothes and some different drawers, and thinking about getting a cool lamp to put here and hanging up some different posters there. Uh, but yeah, a recliner would be a nice piece of that. Speaking of reorganizing, I my friend Matthew is always looking for another tattoo and or an ear piercing or things like that. And I did the ear piercing again. I guess it was during the stupid pandemic thing, and I went to Claire's and got him to shoot that gun through my ear, and I wore that for a little while, but it I just didn't feel it like I did back in 1995, And so I got to thinking, like I'm ready to take a dive kind of off the deep end of celebrating my 46th birthday, and I don't know what my next tattoo is going to be. Although maybe after we get to the end of this episode, I might have solved that. But but I thought about getting an eyebrow ring. I'm like, you know what? I don't want a nose ring. Not one in the middle. I don't want to pierce my lip or my tongue. I mean, I could maybe pull off a belly button ring. It could be a thing. Um, but I thought about getting an eyebrow ring, and I brought it up thinking that people would be like, yeah, yeah, in my family and at school. But no, Isaac was definitely opposed immediately. Everybody was pretty much opposed immediately. And even when I asked my students, usually I could at least get 50-50, but man, it was like 95% like, no way, Mr. Thomas, that's not what you should do. So I don't know. I guess I'll hold off on the eyebrow ring. I did get my hair dyed like platinum blonde back in the day when our baseball team was doing really well, and they all did that for Unity. Maybe I could just go with some frosted tips for turning 46. I've also begun to think about getting into quilting. I don't have a sewing machine. I don't really want a sewing machine. I'd want to do it by hand. I don't know how to sew, so I'd have to learn how to do that too. But my mom and others have made these quilts out of t-shirts, out of old t-shirts, and I think she made one that was cool for Sam. And I've got some old t-shirts, like I've got a stack of t-shirts and other shirts that I I don't much wear anymore. And I go through this every year or two where I will go ahead and kick all those things out. I don't like to own a whole ton of clothes, but some of these are they they kind of are sentimental, and so even though I don't wear them anymore, I would like to keep them in some way. And they're not like they're starting to be low enough quality where I wouldn't want to donate them. But anyway, so I'm thinking about getting into quilting. Maybe at least just making the quilting squares with the t-shirts, and probably should get a thimble. I thought about getting a job at Hannah's. I've been looking at well, I'm hooked up on TurboTax. We're waiting one more tax form from how much money we spent at App State. But I yeah, so I've been doing the taxes and kind of thinking about next year's budget and all the things that we have on tap, and finished paying off the Fish New Year's and all that kind of stuff. And we got some pretty cool trips planned for the future. And so I was thinking about getting a job, working at the at Hannah's coffee shop. I think I would enjoy that. I really do think I would enjoy it. And I really was yesterday like, okay, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go over there and see if I can't figure out a way to work. I mean, even if it's just 10 hours a week, even if it's just a couple weekends or even weeknights after school, during through the week. But then I remembered that I can't do that because I'm gonna be the tennis coach. Like, I'm going to be an assistant tennis coach coming up here in a month, just a month from yesterday, actually. February 20th begins the tennis season. And so, even though I will just be the assistant coach this coming season, I'm still going to be at practice. So, I'll be thinking about some long days. I had a little bit of a feeling pretty low there for a couple of days before we took off for Hilton Head. But so I wasn't able to go to the Y, but got my stuff ready to start back with the 5 o'clock club. I didn't go this past week because it was like 8 below zero. in the morning. But I'm ready to go back. So I'm thinking about that tennis days and 5 a.m. to and then practice after school. Ooh, be tired. But yeah, I'm excited about tennis. I mean, one of the things that I decided to do. I'm not sure if I planned it this way from the start, but one of the things that I do is get myself a new car, and I'm a Camry guy, and then after 2 years, then it when my kid turns 18, then they get a nice Camry with low mileage, and that should last them another decade, and that they won't have to worry about car payments or those types of things. And um, it's it's just kind of my gift to them. I won't have a whole ton of money to leave to them necessarily, but I will be able to start them off with. We will be able to start them off with a nice ride. Well, that being said, Sydney will turn 17 this year, and so within the next year or so, it'll be time to think about giving her the current Camry I drive named Lizzie, and Isaac, and then begin to look for the one that Isaac will eventually get. So I've been looking at those 2025s, um, hence the need for maybe a different job. But we've also are looking at, for one of the things that we do is when the kids turn 13 and when the kids turn 18, they get an epic trip as a gift. And Sydney wants to go to see the Ava Brothers at Red Rocks. And man, I can't wait. And that's not for 18 months, but I've already started planning it out, how we're gonna drive out there. We'll definitely be driving and getting out there in a couple days, and then spending some time around Denver and the Rocky Mountains. And um, so anyway, all that planning for the future, but there's a long way to go. Before then, of course. In the meantime, speaking of my almost 17-year-old daughter, we're beginning to schedule college tours. We've got a couple coming up in March and early April. Going to do Furman and Wofford, and then Elon and Davidson. And then when we go down to Wrightsville Beach this summer, we'll tour UNC Wilmington. So those are the five that we're looking at right now. Not really a leader in the clubhouse at all. So I think she's just interested to find something that fits, and that maybe also will give her some money. So we'll see how that goes. We've got this election thing coming up too. It is 2024. No big deal. And so it is a great time to teach government and civics. It's interesting, like my civic students, they don't much know about, of course, honestly, there were some that didn't know we had 50 states. So first of all, that is a thing I'm dealing with. Um, but they definitely don't know about the charges against the former president. They don't know about much at all. And so it's just noise to them, which I think maybe is a part of the broader plan from the higher ups to just make this all noise. So that is that bread and circuses? Just thought about that. But anyway, a person came by and pulled up in our driveway as we were getting ready to head to Chick-fil-A. Me and Isaac, and it was cold out, so I didn't want to stand talking to her too long, but she's asking me these questions, and I'm always skeptical. She's like, what's your number? If you had to say what's your number one issue that you're going to vote for, what would it be based on? What would you say? And I'm like, yeah, I don't have a number one issue. I consider all the issues, and I'm not going to let you pin me down, like that. She's like, that's fair, that's fair. And she said, well, who are you going to vote for in the primary? And I told her, and you can take this for what you want, but I'm going to vote for Nikki Haley in the in the presidential primary on March 5th. I am registered unaffiliated, and I really am unaffiliated. It's not just a tactic to be able to vote in either primary. I really am unaffiliated. If we took a list of different issues, I would fall all along the spectrum depending on what the issue is. However, it does offer me the chance to vote in either primary because we have an open primary in North Carolina. And for local races in Cleveland County, if whoever wins the Republican primary is going to get elected. Um, it's about a 2-to-1 margin in Cleveland County, Republicans over Democrats. And so, in terms of things like school board, in terms of things like representatives and state senators, I need to vote in the Republican primary if I want to have a say so in the election. Um, maybe, maybe less so in terms of governor, and but in the presidential primary, on the other side, Joe Biden, the octogenarian, is the only choice. I don't know if Dean Phillips got on the ballot in North Carolina or not, but anyway, like, but I don't, I'm for not the former president, and so um, I will vote for Nikki Haley, who Donald Trump has begun referring to by her given name, Nimarata, because of course she is from Indian descent, Indian American. Her parents immigrated to South Carolina, and then Nikki was born, and so she is a natural born citizen. But of course, the Trumpster is trying to pull the birther card on her, just like he did on President Obama. Um, but anyway, I think that's who she was. I think that's who she was canvassing for. Anyway, she told me the group she was with, but um, it, her name was, oh, was it? And it wasn't Anastasia. It was something like that. Maybe it was. And anyway, I told her who I was and that I had graduated from Gardner Webb as well in 2001. And she says, "Oh man, you were there for the good days." And the insinuation being that I guess she didn't think that these days were the good days. But anyway, will vote for Nimarata Haley when it comes time on March the 5th. And hopefully, Tuesday night she'll pull off a win. Hopefully, she'll pull off a win in New Hampshire, and that will change the narrative at least for a time and offer some return to, I mean, whatever, some type of sanity. But whatever. I mean, I guess not whatever. Speaking of returning to sanity, there's this other guy, Robert Kennedy Jr., who I really like his campaign slogan. It says, "I declare my independence," and I really do like that. I really do like the thought of that. But um, and he's got some things that he says I think are really interesting. He's got some things that are kooky for sure. He's definitely a conspiracy guy, but he's going to pull a lot of votes. Especially if it's Trump and Biden. So you might have to take some time and look into RFK Jr. But enough of the politics. Um, Isaac has been cooking, and for my birthday next weekend, he's gonna. Let me back up. I haven't had red meat or in almost 3 years. I think I did one time by accident because I forgot that brisket was beef, and I ate it. But other than that, I've only had very limited pork and only poultry and fish for about 3 years. But I was like, man, I don't know. Maybe a little dose of red meat iron might be good. And so I thought about getting Isaac to cook me up a steak, and he's like, "Oh, I can cook you a steak." He's like, "I'm gonna pan sear it, and I'm gonna bathe it in some garlic butter, and I'm gonna put some rosemary on top, and whatever and whatever." And I'm like, "All right then, that sounds good." So I'll let you know how that goes. Um, I've been reading quite a bit. I read The Tinkers, which was really good. I think I talked about it last time. Let Us Descend was just it was glorious. It was haunting and beautiful and very difficult to read, of course, as a slave, um, a slavery, not a slave narrative, but kind of but it's fiction. But man, just amazing prose, like some of the most beautiful writing I've encountered in quite some time. I'm reading Pillars of the Earth right now by Ken Follett, and I'm only reading that because we went to Goodwill at Hilton Head, which is a stretch for me. But I found this book, and it's Pillars of the Earth, and I'd heard that name before, so I picked it up, and on the front cover is the Oprah's Book Club stamp. So I'm like, all right, well, I'll pay $1.50 for this. And it's wild. Like it's not Game of Thrones wild, but it is a medieval book. It is a story in set in kind of 1100s or something like that, and it's basically real life chess. And so we got all these bishops and castles, and yeah, it's kings. It's crazy. I think it's about 1,000 pages, and I'm on like 250. So I'm gonna head back to try to knock out another good chunk today. I'm in it now where I'm not gonna stop. So I don't know. Probably might report back on it next week. And then other than that, I've been grading AP seminar individual research reports, which some were pretty good, some were kind of mid, and some of them were awful. And they've had from August until January 19th to finish a 1,200 word essay, and so I really don't feel too sorry for them. But now is a good time for a little tea time with Mara. I do have my next appointment, my bi-weekly appointment at Living Lotus tomorrow at 4 o'clock, and um, as has been the case a couple of times, when I get to the point where I think maybe we're wrapping this up, then my person gently kind of helps me realize that there's quite a bit of work to do. And so, of course, it is a family systems theory. Um, that's part of the therapy that I'm doing, where you deal with the different parts of you, and that's mixed with sensory motor therapy, some EMDR as well, that I've been working with some. But one of the different parts that I brought up last time was this part that needs affirmation, and I think I might have talked about it some last week. But as I kind of dug down into it a little bit, and have been digging down into it a little bit, it's this part of me that is it's this part of me that fears that you know me better than I know myself. And there's a lot of different offshoots of that, like, fear of being misunderstood, I guess, or whatever. But maybe it's three. I think it's three pronged. I added a third in as I was, and really four, as I was typing up the podcast today. But one of one of the prongs is, what, maybe I'm not as good as, or whatever. Good is the word I'm using, but you can understand, I hope, what I'm saying. Maybe I'm not as good as I could be, you know? Maybe I'm falling short, and you see that, you know, that you know me better than I know myself. And so, one, maybe I'm not as good as I could be, and you see that. Or two, maybe I think I'm better than I actually am, which is maybe the different side of the same coin. I don't know. Maybe I think I'm better than I actually am, and you see that. And maybe you'll see either of those things and not want to be a part of these chronicles any longer. And I've experienced that. I've experienced folks not wanting to be a part of my chronicles. So there's some meat on that bone. And that particular fear has swept in like these cold winds of January this week. This fear that maybe I have done something that I'm not aware of, maybe that I said something that I didn't know that I had said, or maybe I made a look, or maybe I, didn't do something that you thought I should, whatever. Like, I can just spin these things over in my mind that I'm not aware of, that you that you are aware of, and that was enough, and you don't want to be around anymore. Like that's been a real difficulty for me this week. But there's this fourth prong, you know, and maybe it's not a prong, maybe it's a left hand, right hand kind of thing, Maybe it's three prongs and then one. Because it definitely manifests in a closed right fist. I experienced that when we were doing the therapy last time. As I got to talk about this, I could, my person, Sarah, says, what's going on in that? What's going on with that right hand? I'm not a fighter. I'm not a fighter. I never have been in a fight. Never have in 46, almost 46 years. I never have been in a fight. Um, Sometimes I wonder what it would be like to punch somebody. I don't really want to know what it likes to get punched. So, but there is this part of me that is ready at the defenses. There is this fighter, and this part of me is ready to defend when it seems apparent that you think you know me. So part of it is these fears that I have that you know me better than I know myself. But then when it seems apparent that you act on that, then this fighter pops up. And it's not so much about you as it is about me tamping down my own fears, or maybe more than tamping down. But that leads me to this concept, or this word seems, that I've been thinking about a little bit, because I said, that I'm ready at the defenses when it seems apparent that you think you know me. So I've been thinking about seems. And for one, I ask for your forgiveness if you've experienced that fighter side of me and have been put off or staggered. I hope that you will grant me grace and mercy, as that fighter part of me, it's rooted, it's entrenched, it's dug in for battle and has been for many decades. And so it may be that as I'm becoming aware of this part of me, and it's maybe it's more on the surface, I don't know, but that challenges me to expand my grace for you, because what you may seem to me is surely not the story. No one knows you better than you know yourself. It's a sticky note I have written by my counselor in my car right now. And that's tough to believe. That's tough to believe. Those fears that I have are really, really real. That maybe I don't know myself as well as you know me. But I believe it for me, and I believe it for you. I have a couple of stickers placed around that has the state motto for North Carolina. It is esse, quam, videri. And that translates to to be rather than to seem. To be rather than to seem. And there's a way I've always thought about that, like, yeah, you should just be and not seem. Like don't act, don't put up a front. But as I have thought about this, I think about it now with a slightly different twist, because we're all putting up different fronts, like anyway, like, to be rather than to seem, esse, quam, videri. I long to give you your freedom to be, and not be trapped by my presumption, to not be enslaved by my judgment of what seems to be. For surely you know, you are complicated and complex. You are an extraordinarily beautiful tangle of contradictions and hopes, of grief upon grief, laced with joy and unspeakable desire for goodness. Yeah, I'm working on allowing myself the freedom to be rather than to seem. And I'm determined to grant you that liberty from myself. Please forgive me when I fail you in that regard. Well, this has been a Church of Six production brought to you by the Bucket of Life, by the Wall of Belief, the Foundation Tower of Stone, by the Magic Rock times 2, by the Rope of Relationship, and the Token of Hope. Nothing divine is desperate. May all your circumstances serve to awaken compassion. And as you go, teach peace. Don't forget to believe, y'all, and be live. Grace and peace, my friends.